Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please give a huge, rapturous applause as we welcome to the stage Samantha Barks, Redmayne, Amanda Seyfried, Anne Hathaway, Hugh Jackman, and Tom Hooper. Tom, I would love to start with you, please, if that's okay. When did you know that you wanted to do this film this specific way, you know, with the live performance? And was that from the off? As
I began to explore the idea of doing it, it became so key to me to do it live that I think I would say that it became a condition of doing it. Like, I only wanted to do Les Misérables if I could do it live. I didn't want, in this story where there's such a strong connection between characters and the emotions and the tough reality of the setting, I didn't want any barrier that the audience, I was asking the audience to forgive on a constant basis. I think the most significant changes or significant adaptations aren't probably to do with the physical side. I think it's more the storytelling. I was hugely inspired by Victor Hugo's book, which to me is, you know, a genius work, and I'd never read it until I've started exploring this process. And in this book, it describes how this brutalized man Valjean has two epiphanies. One is the discovery of virtue, of faith through the bishop, and the second, when he meets the little Cosette, the discovery of love. And this transforms his life, and he suddenly feels what it's like to love as a parent, and the extraordinary overnight happening where you discover this amazing ability to love in yourself. I think the thing that was really special was to get to work with the original creators of the show, to readapt it for the screen, and to take inspiration from this wonderful book with this incredible kind of topical relevance of a time of incredible suffering like ours, and a time of incredible anger about inequity and social injustice like ours, and how people can rise up against it, mainly through the mechanism of loving compassion.
Hugh, if I can move on to you, please, next. This felt like the role that everything you've done prior to this was an amalgamation in preparation for it, in a way.
In a way, it probably, for all of us, I think, required everything we've ever had to do. In fact, I've never been on a movie before where it certainly had that sense for all the actors that it was like for the first time, because, well, literally the way you were shooting it was for the first time. It was definitely the first movie musical I'd ever done, and I've never been so aggressive chasing a part. I think I hounded Tom 2 months after he had the Oscar, and I said, let's meet. And so we met up in a room, and I said, I want to audition. He goes, hey, fella, I haven't even signed on to this thing, you know. I said, no, let me sing now. He goes, please, chill out. Security. And I think all of us were such massive fans. You know, movie musicals are not made very often, and I just thank God Cameron McIntosh waited 27 years, because a 14-year-old Valjean would just never really have cut it. Although those high notes might have been easier.
Q, can I mention bringing the relationship with you and Russell? What was that relationship like?
Well, let me just speak quickly to the story, because it is such in literary terms, iconic character, but that relationship and that rivalry that spans from the beginning to the end is one of the great storylines I think ever written, and such a great opportunity. It has always, to me, been one of my favourite things of watching the musical or reading the book, and Tom, Russell and I talked about it at length, and when Tom told me he'd cast Russell, I was over the moon.
And did this take you places that you've never been as an actress before? I mean, I guess roles like this don't really come up that often.
Yes, roles like this don't come along very, very often. With Fantine, it's just all about the descent. I mean, I don't have much screen time at all, but I have to tell the story of someone who began in a relatively comfortable place in her life, and then and wound up dying for love in the space of like 15 minutes. So it was all about trying to find a way to connect to that emotion truthfully and somewhat savagely. And it did take me to places I've never been before, and it took me a long time to come out of it. But that's why we do it, I guess, is to be challenged in those ways. I mean, we're all a little crazy, I guess.
Can I just add, of those 15 minutes,
yeah, I was just about to
I have to point out, I think the greatest compliment a filmmaker can ever give an actor is to hold a close-up for 3 minutes on one of the most extraordinary performances of all time.
Eddie, why have you kept this from us for so long? I just... Wow, incredible.
Yeah, I was making a film in North Carolina playing a Texan meth addict paedophile, and it was a night shoot. And you know how you have hours of doing sort of nothing, and so when I knew that they were making it, I pursued it, and I was in this trailer and dressed as a cowboy on my iPhone. I sang a song, and I sent it to my agent going, guys, I enjoy singing, I don't know if you know that, and my agent Josh in Los Angeles said, I just sent that to Eric Fellner, and I went, you did what? that wasn't and that was the start of what became for all of us, actually, like a sort of an episode of X Factor, and I have a newfound respect for those guys who do those shows. So.
Sam, congratulations. I mean, to take this role, you know, literally from the stage to the big screen, it must have felt incredible for you.
It did. It felt like such an honour to be such a part of this character. It was such a leap going from the stage to film, because this is my first film. So although I was going into this world that I really knew nothing about, it was nice to at least be going in with a character I knew a lot about and a piece I knew a lot about. But yeah, I found it very, very different. But what struck me was on day one, I remember being just so nervous to meet this, you know, cast of wonderful actors who I, you know, admire and respect so much, and to walk in and to feel like the nerves in the room, and that was incredible to me, because how, you know, like to see how passionate every single member of the cast was about these roles. It kind of was like, I know why I'm nervous, but why are you nervous? You're amazing.
Amanda, how did you feel when you first saw the film?
I watched it for the first time with Sam and Eddie, and you know, it's really weird because we all kind of forgot that we were in it, because it's so epic and so like it's Les Mis, the film, and you're watching Hugh in the first number, and you're almost wetting yourself because it's actually happening in front of you, and it's true. It's like, it's just such a big deal for Les Mis fans, and then all of a sudden halfway through the date comes up and we're like, oh my God, we're in it.
Right, okay, enough of my questions. Let's get some from our enormous audience.
Were you worried about what you'd have to take out and what to keep in to keep the magic in?
I've never made a film before where anything was sacred in the script, because most of the time when I made The King's Speech, it was based on an unproduced play that no one knew. Whereas here, you're dealing with songs that have become globally culturally iconic, like I Dreamed a Dream. And so you knew certain things were going to stay, and it was all about how you supported the things that you had to make these things essential, so that there was never a thought of cutting them.
How long did you rehearse before you went to start filming?
It's a great question, because Tom, and again, the producers allowed us 9 weeks of rehearsal. I've done a lot of stage shows, and you rarely get 9 weeks even in a theatrical production. But I think actors know that actually rehearsal is our greatest friend, and there was never a half-hearted rehearsal. I mean, from literally from day one. Then this is what Tom would do. If Tom's me, he would go, great, why don't we just, let's sing the song and go all out. Don't worry about me, man. Don't worry, I'm just the camera. It's all good. Do you need me to take a mint? It's all good. Let's go. From the beginning, we were getting used to the camera. All of us had fake teeth. It took about 2 weeks before I stopped sounding like this. And when you're doing something for the first time, like singing live and singing on locations, we had to be ready to go wherever we were. So it was, thank you, one of the greatest gifts.
This was not a situation where it's like we were going to be able to do it once, and if we nailed it, that would be great. We knew that if you're doing a scene where you're pouring, you're ripping your heart out, you're going to have to rip your heart out for 12 hours a day. So the rehearsal process actually became kind of like, the emotional gym for all of us.
I was actually for Tom, because I was just wondering how much from the set design on the theatre production did you take and you kind of put in the cinematography of this film, because it was gorgeous, and I was just, because obviously there's so much more you can do with a film than you can on stage.
The staging of the show is spectacular. It's one of the great stagings, but it deals with the epic without being able to. It has to suggest it, or as you can see from the film, it's such a huge journey. And one of the great joys of making the film was to be able to put his epic journey on screen for real.
What did you think the biggest challenge would be when you went into production?
The big challenge for me was getting the live vocal dream to work, and I have to credit my extraordinary sound recordist Simon Hayes, who. I mean, in what you just saw, 99% of the vocals are those recorded on set on the day, which actually is probably a higher percentage than quite a lot of dialogue movies. But everyone was invested. Paco, the costume designer, had to design costumes that didn't rustle or make any noises that would destroy the sound. Eve Stewart had to build the street set inside on the Richard Attenborough stage to protect so much of the singing that was going to happen there, and had to build floors in ways that didn't make difficult noises. There was an incredible team effort from everyone in my team to make it possible, for which I'm very grateful.
And that's all we have time for. Thank you for your time and thank you for your questions. Tom Hooper, Hugh Jackman, Anne Hathaway, Amanda Seyfried, Eddie Redmayne and Samantha Barks. Thank you so much. Thank you.